Welcome everyone. I'm glad you took some time off your lunch to join this third session here of Explore Entrepreneurship, Idea to Product. And so this is the third in the series of this webinars, and the first one was focused on the myths of entrepreneurships, and it was led by John Lamb from Edge and Daniel Bishum from the Brampton Entrepreneurship Center. The second one was focused on prototyping with 3D printing. That was led by Erin Waka from the Brampton Library. And this session will be led by myself. And we'll focus on advanced manufacturing and accessing services here at the Center of Advanced Manufacturing and Design Technologies, CAMDET for short, C-A-M-D-T, CAMDET. My name is Salih Jadawi, and I'm the manager and interim director here at CAMDET. I come from a technology background, technology and business, and I've had the opportunity to work over a number of different industries. I found out after working in the healthcare that I love working in labs, and now I'm back in a lab in an advanced manufacturing space and absolutely loving all the work we do with IoT in Industry 4.0, creating smart devices and smart compost bins that I'll get to and talk about later on. So before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather has been and still is the traditional territory of several indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, the Métis, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Since time immemorial, numerous indigenous nations and indigenous peoples have lived and passed through this territory. We recognize that the territory is covered by the Dish and with One Spoon Treaty and the Two Row Wampum Treaty, which emphasizes the importance of joint stewardship, peace, and respectful relationships. Shared and affirms it is our collective responsibility to honor and respect those who have gone before us, those who are here, and those who have yet to come. We are grateful for the opportunity to be working and living on this land. All right, some Zoom housekeeping before we dive into things. Please mute your mic when you're not speaking. Webcam use is not mandatory, but deeply encouraged. We love seeing all your faces. And type questions in the chat box. I'll either get to it immediately as we go along this presentation or after the presentation. All right, so here's the agenda for this webinar. First, we'll go over CAMDET, who we are, and then we'll talk about who you could be and why you may be interested in joining and seeing this session through to the end. Identify some industry gaps, talk about what we do, the expertise and the technologies we can bring to help you sort of bring your idea or your product to life. I'll highlight some success stories, highlight some funding and who can access those fundings, and then touch on the engine room, and then I'll open it up for the question answer session right after that. So CAMDET, Center for Advanced Manufacturing and Design Technologies. We're an advanced technology hub where students, faculty, technical expertise, and industry partners come together to learn, apply, collaborate, and innovate. So in essence, we're a 10,000 square foot facility with some of the smartest students and the most high-tech equipment you'll find out there. We're located right here at the Davis campus in Brampton, Ontario. And I'll take you through the list of equipment later on. For now, let us just know it's a sandbox. It's right here in Davis campus, and we have a lot of equipment, expertise, and faculty that can help you that can support you in bringing your product to life. So I want you to take a moment and think about this. If you're joining this session and you're probably one of two people, you're either an entrepreneur looking to build your own business, or you're an entrepreneur looking to build a new product or a new process from within the company you're You've gone through the ideation stage. Say maybe you started back in 2018 and you've gone through the ideation stage. You've looked for product market fit. You've tested your ideas. You've done your market research and you've bootstrapped your way through a version 1 prototype. You've essentially listened to Daniel and John Lam, the startup man, used the value proposition canvas and validated your idea. And on your way, you've interested some keen investors and acquired some fundings, either through competition or other avenues, and have placed some of your prototypes in customers' hands. So you've come quite a ways since the idea conception stage. Now you're really looking to take your product to the next level. You want to integrate electronic modules to get an industrial designer to look closely in how it will be used in the market. You want to take the next steps to get that much closer to mass manufacturing. What do you do next? How do you pull together a team of experts to work on your challenge? How do you secure funding for 6 months to year-long projects? How do you access high-end software and technology required to bring your product to the next level? Well, all these challenges are unique, and it's interesting that they're not uniquely your own. What we found via a market study earlier in the year is that these challenges that you share and that resonate with you are also industry challenges. So from the study, we identified that 70% of companies say they would benefit from R&D and technical services. 2/3 of companies have identified a lack of technical expertise, knowledge, partnerships as barriers to R&D. And these are companies in and around the Brampton area, in and around the GTA. So I think this Venn diagram here kind of captures things perfectly. The gaps identified in industry can be looped into 3 main areas. So highly qualified personnel, the technology, and the funding. And a great project with a college or a great successful project that we've seen needs all these aspects to come together. So we need the team, you need people with expertise and knowledge in either PCBs, electronics, simulation and modeling. You need the funding to pay the people working on the project and get the consumables you need to take it to the next level. And then you also need the technology. And some of these technologies are very expensive and not easily accessed out there. So these are the main gaps. They're not your own, they're an industry-wide gap. Anyone looking to take the opportunity to engage in R&D faces these same challenges. And it's even more important in today's manufacturing, which is a highly competitive, and companies of all sizing are innovating and exploring new technologies to simply stay ahead. And what are these new technologies I'm talking about? I'm talking about automation, connection, cloud computing, big data, and integrated systems. So all these very, very interesting, very, very high-end technologies, everyone needs to is getting to a point where they need to either incorporate this in the new product that they're having, in the new app that they're building, and they need access to these expertise and technologies to put these things together. So this is mainly the gap. So how can we, as a community partner or as a college, help you sort of attain these 3 items? The first thing you can do is connect with us to determine whether or not there's a collaboration space. After we've determined, say you're bringing in your app background and your app development team, and you need someone to come in and help support you in the hardware aspect of things, into the simulation aspect of things. That's a perfect complementary project. And that first connection point can help us determine that, okay, this collaboration space exists. We have the technology, we have the expertise, we can work together. Following that connection, we partner up to identify goals, the plans, plan out some research activities, write up a project proposal, and then we'll assemble a team that allow you to sort of access the equipment and the funding that you need to take this project, say, from this proof of concept to like a 6-month project, getting you that much closer to manufacturing. And then once the project ends successfully, of course, we want to publish and highlight your success stories. And ultimately, the way these college industry partnerships work is, and this is generally the case, is the IP is actually owned by you. So this is not something that you would need to worry about in terms of IP ownership. So at ChemDet, we have a number of areas of expertise: digital fabrication, design, automation, additive manufacturing. So this is 3D scanning and prototyping technology, and simulation and modeling. So anything to do with computational flow dynamics, finite element analysis, process simulation, and advanced 3D modeling. Behind each one of these technologies is someone that is highly qualified, experienced, and capable in these areas. The professors that lead these industry projects are highly educated and come directly from industry. They have years of experience working in the industry you are interested in exploring. And working with them on these projects are Sheridan's best students, highly innovative and capable, bringing out of-the-box ideas to solve your industry challenges, to bring your idea one step closer to reality. So here's some examples of the technology currently stored here at the Davis campus. We have everything from robotics to machine vision, metal 3D printers, simulation and modeling software, water jet cutting tools, 3D scanning tools, laser cutters, and electronic prototyping stations. So this is a vast array of technologies, and all of these technologies can be utilized and dedicated towards supporting your journey as an entrepreneur in bringing your product to reality. And I'll touch on a few success stories next, that some of them utilize some of these tools, others utilize only a subset of them. So here's a few success stories you may have heard of. On the left is Pedal. This was started by someone named Brian Pretz. Pedal is a smart compost bin that essentially, it's like a mini freezer bin thing that you can throw in, say, dirty diapers or any other types of compost, and it keeps it frozen. So so if you read on the slide, it says, as if your freezer and trash can had a genius baby. And that's the idea behind Pedal. It was developed right here in ChemDet using some of the 3D printing technology that we have, as well as some of the 3D printing, simulation, modeling expertise that we have here on hand. And most recently, the most recent news regarding this company is that they have just secured a partnership with Danby, which is one of the largest market share compact appliance category companies in North America. They're privately held, Canadian headquarters in the outskirts of Guelph, Ontario. So that's a big success story coming out of ChemDet, college industry type partnerships. The other one's Clean Air on the right side. And in a nutshell, Clean Air takes your regular HVAC filters and integrates smart sensors on it. So it's a kind of air filter that can tell you, hey, I'm at the end of the life. You need to change me now. And you don't have to wait till your entire sort of like space is covered in dust. And this is another technology developed right here with ChemDet students and ChemDet expertise. And most recently, Clean Air was accepted to participate in Upward Labs in Connecticut. So very exciting stories, very exciting technology, and developed right in partnership with the college. So you may be wondering, okay, this is great. I mean, there's a track record. How might a team look like if I were to maybe connect with ChemDet? So here's an example project, and this is an ongoing project. And what I really wanted to highlight here is the team structure. So for this project, in total, there's about 8 members in this team, including members from yourself, the industry partner. So this project is very exciting. It involves the development of a COVID tracking wristband. And we've brought in expertise from the Faculty of Animation Arts and Design, one professor and one student really looking at how this wristband could fit on the palm of your hands. Is it comfortable to sleep in? Really doing the study with actual people, coming out with the form, the function, and the fit of the wristband, and focused on the aesthetics as well as the design of the wristband. And then on the bottom half, you see the orange square. We've brought in 2 people from the Faculty of Applied Science and Technology. And what they're focused on here is developing the electronics behind the wristband, using development kits, using low energy Bluetooth modules to really move from a breadboard type development to an actual PCB prototype that we then send out to manufacturers to get actual size PCBs to put into the design and the shell that the design team is creating. And for this project, what the industry partner is actually bringing in is their expertise and their knowledge in app development in the software side of things. So they've developed this app, they've handled the software, and now they're working with us to actually bring the hardware side to reality. And from CAMDET, the way we support this project is via project management, allowing access to the technology that we have on hand here at the lab, as well as facilitating some of the funding access. So this is almost like a good example of how a potential team, how quickly you can put together a potential team to work on supporting your industry challenges. Here's another example of a project with a company called Tunify. I'm just going to play this video on the right here, and it's very cool. It's an automatic tuning guitar stand. It uses machine vision and servo actuators to actually tune your guitar for you. It strums it, it tunes it. It doesn't really depend on hearing the guitar being played. So you could really see yourself using this, say, if you're a part of a band and you're in a noisy area, you just throw your guitar on this stand and it tunes it for you. So this is a 5-person team that secured early funding from the McMaster Forge. And some of the challenges that they had with this project was in the stability of the arms, the assembly time, the transportation, so transporting it without sort of like putting in a lot of work, disassembly and reassembly, and then always running the risk of damage, as well as the cost of the unit. And with this project, we went through an iterative approach. So we would focus on a couple of these challenges, design, print, test, and then iterate. And we ended up making about 5 prototypes. And what I'm showing here on the little circular image is the use of clips. And this is funny. You may be thinking, oh, clips, that's not really too innovative, but honestly, there's a bunch of MIT papers just focused on what is the best way of printing these clips. And so through these iterative stages, we ended up improving the stability, improving the assembly time through the use of these clips. So now the entire arms just come off and on pretty quickly. That helps in transportation and also reduces costs because you're not using the same number of screws, you're not buying as many materials in the BOM. At the same time, we did also look into standardizing some of the design aspects. So we did, you do end up buying some more standard stuff that improves stability, but also reduce the stuff you don't need to reduce the cost ultimately. So the final project was cheaper, faster to assemble, easier to transport, and it brought them a little bit that much closer to mass manufacturing. So you might be thinking, okay, this is all well and good. Sal, but who can access some of these funding opportunities and these college partnerships? And the ideal partner would have like a proof of concept under their belt, a proof of concept done. So they've maybe partnered up with Aaron at the Brampton Library. They've gone through the first phase of iterating and using the 3D printers to come up with like an MVP type of product. They're a Canadian headquartered company, so they're located right here in Canada. You would be located right here in Canada, and you'd be a small to medium-sized enterprise, so under 500 employees. So I'm going to quickly go over the two types of grants that we normally tap into to set up these maybe 2 to 6 month projects. The first one is the NSERC Engage grant, and this is a grant open to any companies with at least 2 full-time employees and 2 years of incorporation. And the third sort of like data point is this is the first time you're partnering up with the college. So the NSERC Engage grant is $25,000 for a 6-month project. And if you've never considered a college partnership, this is a good reason to consider it, because it really, this type of grant doesn't require any cash contribution from your side, only in kind, which essentially shows the commitment that you have towards working with the college partnership. So that's one of the grant fundings that we normally tap into. The second one, and this is unique to Sheridan and a few other select colleges and universities in Southern Ontario, is the Southern Ontario Network of Advanced Manufacturing funding opportunity. And this one does require a small amount of cash contribution to these projects. It is very flexible, and it can be longer than that 6 month or shorter than that 6 month timeline. So here's an example project breakdown. Say we've put together a project with faculty and expertise and students that is 1 part-time student and 1 part-time faculty professor for a 4-month project with about $3,500 in consumables and expertise, which means like you maybe buy $3,500 worth of 3D print material and parts to go into building your prototype. For that kind of project, it's $40,000 value. $16,500 would come from FedDev, so from that Tsunami grant fund. $20,000 would be from the industry partner side, so from your side coming in as an in-kind contribution, and then $4,000 in cash. And that gets you the 4-month project, 1 student, 1 faculty, and $3,500 in consumable spending, which is a good deal, especially being a startup. You kind of need your money to go the extra mile for you and go a long way to actually developing your product. So these are the current colleges and universities involved in Tsunami. In this Tsunami funding opportunity: Conestoga, Sheridan, Mohawk, Niagara College, Fanshawe, and Lambton, and as well as McMaster University. Last but not least, if this is something currently in the works here at the Davis campus, it's a portion of ChemDed dedicated to earlier stage entrepreneurs to help them prototype their product ideas. So this is a partnership we are currently involved in with Edge, and we're going to do a pilot phase in winter of 2021. It's a space already filled with some amazing equipment. So we have the Ultimaker S5, which is an amazing piece of 3D printer, 2 MakerBots, a MakerBot scanner for anyone looking to actually scan your product and improve it from that scanned model, as well as 3 support removal stations. So this is for post-processing of your 3D printed parts. So this is, we're calling it the engine room, and the phase 1 pilot will be kicking off in the first quarter of 2021. So if any of this stuff is interesting to you and you'd like to learn more, here are different ways you can connect with us at CamDet, or so you can go to the website, Twitter us at CamDet Sheridan, and also via our network partners, so Brampton Library, Makerspace, Edge, BC, Tsunami Engine, and OCE. So I just wanted to loop back to this industry gap. So if you're having any challenges with assembling a team, attaining funding, or accessing the technology you need, it could be metal 3D printing or just production level 3D printers or robotics to improve your processes, water jet cutters, laser cutters, 3D scanners, software and technical expertise. Just, I want you the next time you're having lunch just to think about CamDet. And if you can't remember CamDet, maybe Sheridan College, and you can find us through there. All right, that's the end of the presentation here. And I'm just going to highlight a few of the COVID response project we did over the summer and really just open up the floor to any questions. And I will also try and open up the chat box here. Just need a couple of seconds to find it, to see if there are any questions on the chat.
I believe I have a couple questions.
Okay, yeah, shoot.
Yeah, so currently I'm in the idea stage. I just completed my business model canvas, so I'm going to reach out to John Lam and get some thoughts on it. And now I'm on a path to start creating the business plan and, you know, working with a team. So my first question is, do you have to be a student of, let's say, Sheridan to start thinking of this program?
No, not really. No, you can, as long as you have sort of like you've started down the entrepreneurship journey, you don't really have to be a student. So this is not a Sheridan specific program. It is open to any businesses and any entrepreneurs in the community.
Okay, sounds good. And so for me to be able to get to this stage, I need to, you mentioned, you know, first start business model, business plan, get some funding, because I think it was get some funding and get some traction, and then to sort of like take your product or your software to the next level. This is what it is for, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's a bit further down the line. And in the first couple of episodes, we kind of touched on the business side of things with John Lam and Daniel Bishun, who are great people to reach out to, especially early on. And then Erin Walker as well from the Brampton Library is a great resource to connect with, to explore 3D printing. And then the funding doesn't necessarily need to be seed funding. It could be, for example, the McMaster project I talked about, they just won a competition, and it was about $2,000 that they won, and they put it through on a Tsunami budget. So they extended that $2,000 to like $16,000 and managed to get 5 prototypes out of that collaboration space. So it does come a bit further down the line, and with the engine room, so that's piloting next year, we're looking at exploring the phase between the early stage and the part where you have funding. So just focusing on that gap, bridging that gap.
Okay. And I think just lastly, with the prototype, would I have to, let's say, when you say get traction, you mean like sales and things like that? Because I think that for me, prototyping would be probably, let's say, in the middle of next year for me. Do you think that this would be because it's probably going to be the first time I'm thinking of prototype around that time? But let's say I'm probably, because I'm working on getting some funding because I'm a student. I'm in a program that we're doing a pitch competition, and I'm working towards that for sure. So I think that after that, which is early next year, after that, probably in the middle of next year, I'll be really going to look for prototype that I could take to market, right? So would this be also a good place, a good idea to come into and think of?
So, and I'm not really sure. Are you in Edge currently as well?
In the Explore.
Okay, yeah. So with the engine room through Edge, we can definitely connect and see what stage you're at, and then have you potentially access some of the equipment that we have here at Camden. So that could be definitely a possibility. And so the idea behind the engine room is to ultimately, in a post-pandemic world, have companies like yours that you're looking to start actually come into this space and be exposed to some of the technology that we have here, and then use the Ultimakers and the MakerBots and rub shoulders with expertise that can help you sort of like go through that design, the iterative design, to quickly sort of like ramp you up to a prototype that you can put into customer hands.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And may I add something really quick, Sal? So
Yeah.
favorite year in the Explore program, and the point of prototyping is to get feedback from customers and use the prototype as a tool to do so. And if we'll send out the YouTube links, but last week, Erin Walker from the Brampton Library Makerspace, she's here today as well. She talked about how we might use 3D printing to rapidly prototype to learn from our target audience. So if you review that session, perhaps you might get some ideas, and perhaps you can actually accelerate the process to get that prototype up and running, and then be able to learn from your customers and eventually work with Camden.
Okay, sounds good. That's great. I was wondering, would the link to the video be sent through email, or I could reach out to you and get that link? That'd be helpful.
Yeah, there we go. So Cole has put in the chat the YouTube link to last week's session.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so those are great questions, Trevor. Thank you for asking, and we look forward to seeing you sort of like further down the line with Edge and with Brampton Library. I'm just quickly going to review this chat box here. Website. Okay, I see, John, you've answered quite a few of the questions. Okay. I don't think there are any questions on here. John and Daniel, would you like to do a quick recap of the previous, the first session, and then Erin Walker, perhaps you can do a quick recap of the Brampton Library session, and then we can close things off if there are no further questions.
Sure. John, do you want to go first, or you want me to? I can go first. So in the first part of this series, we did talk about understanding what your customer needs are, creating a product fit solution. We did go over the the value proposition canvas, which I think is extremely important to really get a understanding of the pains, to where some of the problems that your customer is facing, and in how does your product or your potential prototype can fit that demand. So not creating products and services first, but actually understanding, going through the process of understanding what are the requirements that your customers are facing, where are some of the real demands that they need, and how you are actually solving their problem. That's the key takeaway from that first part of the series is, are you solving a problem that your customer has, and are they willing to pay for your solution that you're solving? You may be able to solve their solution, but it may not be at the price point that you want. So these are the types of information that you're going to want to collect through your market research by doing surveys and really getting out into the marketplace and talking to customers. Another thing John actually brought up too is don't hide your idea. The best thing to do is talk to a lot of individuals that would utilize your product or your service, and really get an understanding if it's meeting all the requirements, and how do you tweak your product through prototyping to ensure that you are meeting those requirements. And if you do require any additional assistance, my name is Daniel Bishan. I am from the Brampton Entrepreneur Center. I work very closely with John at Edge, and either door, whichever door you decide to go through, we're here to assist you. Both John and I have the ability to walk you through your business idea, help you really develop that marketing strategy, help you develop that figuring out who your target customers are, and walking you through that entire business process. So again, I would recommend you do reach out. There's no wrong door here. Any of the partners here are willing to assist. John, if you want to add anything, I will throw my contact information in the chat just in case you want to reach out, guys.
That was a great summary. Find a problem, try to see if you can solve the problem, to create a solution that will inform what prototypes to build. And as Dan said, right, we encourage you, not only to reach out to either one of us, reach out to both of us, right? Come chat with us and get different perspectives about how to move your idea forward.
Agreed. More advisors, the better.
So I can just give a quick recap of what was covered in last week's session, which I delivered on rapid prototyping with 3D printing. So we talked about what a prototype is and what rapid prototyping is, and how 3D printing is a tool that can be used for that process. We also examined how to determine if 3D printing is the right prototyping method for you and your product. And then we looked specifically at how to get started with 3D printing, what types of files do you need, and other considerations when you are working on a prototype. And then I also talked about how you can access Brampton Library's Makerspace services for free to actually create some of those early prototypes with the Brampton Library's equipment.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the recaps, Aaron, Daniel, and John. I'm just going to do another quick scan of the chat here. I'm not seeing any more questions. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. Again, if you do want to connect with us, please reach out to, as John said, literally any one of us would be happy to have a chat with you. Yeah, I think I'm happy to close this session off here. Thank you again for joining and spending your lunchtime with us. Good to see everyone's faces, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, and happy prototyping.
Thanks, everyone.